Went back for 3 months with Vince and did 3 months of consulting. I think I really wanted to get to know him as a person, see what I thought of him. And then again, I guess still thinking about this business and wondering if I was wanting to participate in it, but I realized I didn't. And he and I parted on good terms, I think, and I think we learned something about each other. I think I made some contributions there when I was there, but I think I realized then I didn't want anything to do with the business after that.
There was talk that you went in, and I guess Vince gave you the impression that you would have total control over some of the characters, and I think there's a rumor that you wanted the belt on Brett and he wanted the belt on Shawn.
Nah, we never disagreed. We did have several disagreements there, but there was never a disagreement over who was boss. And so whatever I didn't give a shit. Whatever he wanted, no, that had nothing to do with it. I just wanted, he was going to switch the title anyway. I wanted to switch it at Madison Square Garden, and he finally agreed. That had nothing to do with it. The characters, as far as me controlling their development, no, that had nothing to do with it. I wanted to ease some of his problems because he is such a genius, but he gets to the show and he's having to babysit all the problems. And I said, this is not the time or the place for you to do the babysitting. When we're at the show, we need to run the show. And he turned the television shows over to me, running them over there, and he stopped the car one night. We were going back to Chicago and pulled it over and said, get out and just give me a hug. He said, I have never seen a show run this well.
Really?
So he and I had a fabulous rapport there. I think the thing that got him with me was that I was wanting to make the character, the creative department stand on its own. And I resented that he would come in and tear it down the next day and we didn't get to put it on the air the way we wanted to do it to see whether it worked or not. And he was panicking with the Nitro thing. But now, as far as being first class with me, the guy was first class. We never had a disagreement where I told him off or he told me off. We shook hands.
Who made initial contact to come there?
They did. I didn't.
Right.
They did. I didn't. Poor Jim Ross is the one that catches everything. Said my airplane every time he tries to get me in somewhere, it's the stress that he went through. But the difference is at WCW, Jim Ross was doing a hell of a job, and he got screwed at WCW. But it's been a blessing because Vince recognizes Jim Ross's talent. Jim Ross is a talented person. Vince surrounds himself with talented people. He's got a dedicated group. I don't agree with the extreme they've gone to in many departments, but I don't watch it. But I want to tell you, the way he runs his company, I admire. Hell, it's the way I run mine.
Right.
He's hands-on. He does it. He may not be as he is just as passionate as I am. Vince McMahon's passionate. I haven't seen him back down from anybody. He may handle them a different way diplomatically than I would, but I want to tell you, the guy, damn sure, he runs his company.
Was there ever any consideration, to your knowledge, of using the Nitro Girls in WWE in some form?
From what I was told, Vince McMahon never liked the Nitro Girls. And it wasn't even a discussion or even consideration to bring us to WWE or WWF at the time.
I was going to go to Vince.
Mm-hmm.
There was talk about me going there.
So you did have communication with Vince?
Yeah, there was communications there.
Okay.
Well, Vince and I never got along.
No?
And
You don't know why?
I guess we do.
Right.
Well, at one point in time, Vince wanted to change my name or something. I said, no, I'm not changing my name. I spent my whole life, I'm not going to change my name. Most everybody would say, hey, if I can go work for you, you can
do whatever.
You can put a clown suit on me.
Right.
You know, you can make me march around with a 2x4.
Right.
You can make me act like a fool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't play that.
Right.
I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that much to me. So I didn't go to Vince.
This was even before AWA.
This is before AWA.
Because one of my questions was I think like a lot of AWA talent was getting rated then. That was one of my questions. Were you one of the guys that?
No, this was before.
Before even, okay.
Yeah, I had a choice. Mm-hmm. I could go to Vince or I could go to Vern.
Mm-hmm.
Vince, for some reason, and I don't even remember because I don't even think we talked. I would talk to Pat,
mm-hmm.
you know, and the boys.
Did you kind of had a relationship with Pat from Terry back in Montreal and all that? So okay.
Yeah, like I talked with them, you know, and there was talk, but
communication, but nothing formal.
No, you know, like it was like two alpha males or something.
Right.
You know, Vince, I respect him for his business mind and the people he surrounded himself with that were very smart, and the work he's done and the direction he's went. That more power to him. You know, he's brilliant. On the same part, I just don't feel like playing that kind of game. I don't want to go there and have you tell me what you want me to do, when you want me to do it, and how you want me to do it. I never liked that anyway.
Right.
Through my whole career, and maybe that was, if any promoter or booker ever, my name ever comes up, that might be one of the issues, that maybe I just wasn't always cooperative. Well, yeah, it's just one of those things. Plus, maybe I was probably half crazy half the time. So I think too that right after me not going to Vince, Miss Elizabeth and Randy Savage was born.
Right. There you go.
Sure.
That could have.
Absolutely. That was exact. That was. I mean, I wasn't there when they did it and how they thought it, but okay, I'm not coming. I was the only show in town,
Right.
in the country, in the world, with the valet and myself, with the exposure that I had and with the track record that I had.
'Cause TV was getting big and the magazines were big and
Everybody
everything.
knew what we were doing in Texas. Everybody knew that the ability that we had, and there was no question whether we could draw money or not.
Right.
That was a given. So I didn't go there, and then all of a sudden Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth comes around. So that was okay.
And you're thinking,
Yeah, there. So that's what happens when you don't go somewhere. Vince don't want. If you don't go to Vince, Vince will create
he'll take somebody else and create
what he wants.
Right.
So that's okay. Good for Vince. I'm glad he did it. Good for Randy and good for Miss Elizabeth at the time. God bless her too.
What do you think about Vince McMahon retiring?
Well, I guess he had to. What else am I gonna...
Well, were you shocked? Because it seemed like he wasn't never going to go anywhere. You know what I mean?
Well, under the circumstances, I guess it didn't shock any of us. But yeah, I mean, you thought he'd always be there. Yeah.
How was your relationship with Vince? Maybe not right now, but like over the years, it's been a lot better.
Well, you know, Vince came to us to buy us out, and he came in the spring of '83, and came to town. We picked him up at the airport, went up. We had Vern, our lawyer, Vince, and myself. We're the only four that knows what really happened. And Vince said he wanted, you know, to make a proposal and buy us out. And he gave it. Vern said, first of all, we have partners. I've got partners. I got partners in Winnipeg. I got a partner in Denver, Colorado. Got a partner, Dennis Hilgart, who runs Milwaukee, Chicago, Phoenix, Las Vegas. Him and Leo Nomalini in San Francisco. His partners in Chicago, Wilbur Snyder and Dick the Bruiser. So he said, you know, I have to present it to them and see what, you know, how we could make this work. He says, okay, I'll, you know, give us a couple months. So he came back in August. We met. We gave him the number, and he said, okay. Drove back to the airport. He said, I'll get back to you. As he got out of the car and he walked up to the front door of the airport, he turned around and he said, I don't negotiate. And Vern looked at me and said, what did he say? He said, I don't negotiate. What does he mean by that? And I said, I don't know what he means by it. That's what he said. So we didn't, that was in the fall of '83, early September, late August. And so then we didn't hear anything back from him. And then we do our battle royal. So we had Andre the Giant through October. And then the winner of the battle royals would beat the world champion. And Hogan had a match. He'd won the battle royal, had a match with Bockwinkel, didn't win it. And then we had him booked in Christmas week was a big week for us. All our major cities were sold out. And they had 6-man tag team matches with Bockwinkel, Stevens, and Jerry Blackwell and Bobby Heenan in their corner against Brunzell, myself, and Hulk Hogan. And at that time, and we had to sign a non-disclosure with CBS. They wanted to do a Saturday night 2-hour special in April. and they wanted Bockwinkel and Hogan for a championship match. So Hogan, we had that whole week of Christmas. Hogan had gone to Japan right after our last Battle Royal in Phoenix, and he didn't show up in St. Paul that night. And my dad had got a letter 2 days before from Tampa, Florida. It said, "I'm not coming back." Signed Hulk Hogan. And Vern looked at the letter and he said, "Oh, Tampa, Florida." I mean, he knew Hogan was living in Minneapolis at the time. He said, "It's Eddie Graham." They were always pulling jokes on each other. So he just threw it away. And then Hogan didn't show up. So I called him after the St. Paul. I said, "Hey, man, what are you doing? Why didn't you show up?" "Well, I'm going to go work for the WWE starting in January." I said, "Well, business isn't done that way. There was, in wrestling, it was always your handshake was your contract. Nobody ever broke that till Hulk Hogan broke that. He didn't show up for those. And then what McMahon did, he started picking off our talent in the AWA. Nobody was under contract. And he got Gene Okerlund, our announcer. He got some more of our talent. Every time we got somebody really established, he'd grab them. And we battled him for a while, but pretty soon he went in and started buying TV time slots that we had in San Francisco and tried to get it in Denver, tried to get it in Minneapolis, couldn't. He got Winnipeg. He started buying the time, buying the show that we had a rating, a 24 rating with a 64 share of the audience on our syndicated program.
Wow.
And plus, we were across Canada on TSN. So by getting Winnipeg, he got all of Canada from us. And he kept hitting us because he needed those big markets to make what he was trying to do work. And, the rest was history.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Follow us on Twitter at the Hannibal TV for instant update.
We had a cocktail party. It was all the writers and all the inductees. And a couple people from the office were floating around. Ace was floating around. Vince was floating around. Cocktail party. There's an open bar. There's hors d'oeuvres. It's like nice. So we're each assigned a writer to go over our speeches. So I come prepared. I have my speech on my laptop. I have a printed out copy. I've got it on my iPad. I've got like 3 forms of my speech. I sit down with my writer. I forget her name. And she reads over. She goes, "I'm not changing a thing." She goes, "It's perfect." She goes, "The only thing, you can't say Vince McMahon's name. He cannot say his name. You have to say the WWE universe. You can't even thank Vince McMahon personally."
That's odd, but okay.
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
I was getting fed up with the bullshit McMahon was pulling after a while, and I was married, had a couple of kids by then, and I wasn't real happy with professional wrestling at that time, believe me. And it wasn't paying that well. And I finally cornered McMahon one afternoon down in Huntsville, Alabama. I walked in the arena. I said, "Where's McMahon have his office at in here?" Right there. So I walked in there. I looked in. I said, "Vince, hey, Ken, how you doing? Why don't you come on in?" I said, "Well, I got my bag here. I can either put it down and talk to you about the payoffs, or I can just hold it, turn around, walk out of here without any regrets and say, F you." "Well, what's the problem?" I said, "I'm making less money now than I did a year ago, you mother. I'm sick and tired of it." I said, "And you're putting me in all these, back in those days, we worked off of the house." I said, "You put me in some shit town out in Redding, California, and run me all the way down to San Diego, then back up to wherever, you know. I said, I'll be out there to drive almost 2,000 miles and make $1,500. I said, you. I did a deal with him. I said, this is what I'll do. You start paying me, I think, $4,000 or $4,500 a week, something like that. And I'll stay here and put over Big Boss Man, Bad News Brown, King Kong Bundy. I'll even put the fucking Red Rooster over, which I did right in the middle of the ring in Boston Garden. Oh, people started booing. Oh, fuck. I didn't give a shit, you know, but by that time. But everybody that he wanted, it took me 4 months to do it, or 3 months, something like that. I put everybody over right in the middle of the ring. He said, well, don't you want to do this or do that? I said, fuck no, I'll put them over right in the middle of the ring. God, there was, I bet there was 15 guys I put over, which, you know, but I could care less. I said, hey, it's all bullshit anyway. You fucking went out there and told everybody it's all fake. Yeah, so what the fuck do I give a shit? I was the top bad guy in WWF for 2.5 years.
Vince McMahon wasn't there at my audition. I didn't meet him until I booked the job. I think it was on my first, it was my first week for sure. No, could have been my second week, but yeah, he came out when I was sound checking the national anthem and came out and introduced himself to me and everything. So that was the first time I met him. It wasn't at the audition.
What did you think about Vince?
Super professional, super kind, very direct and to the point, which, you know, I appreciate. I feel like being an entertainer and being an actress and a singer in the entertainment industry since I was a kid, I have a thick skin. So I prefer people to just tell me, you know, if they want me to change something or do something different or whatever. And so, yeah, any tweaks or anything, like he was, you know, pretty straightforward about, which I appreciated. And so we always really got along well.
Vince McMahon news going on. Crazy.
Pandora's box, bro. It only takes one. I mean, it only takes one. You know, it's funny. I was watching a documentary on Weinstein the other day, and you know, bro, everybody in Hollywood knew what was going on, and nobody was saying a word. People that worked for him, CAA, everybody. Well, what happened, bro, was he flew in this model from Italy, and this model from Italy met with him. And he did his business with the robe and the massage and the whole 9 yards. Okay. Now, bro, this model from Italy, she already had a career. So she wasn't one of these young Hollywood actresses, you know. So when this happened, bro, she went to the police. She went to the NYPD. And then they started investigating it. And that opened up the Pandora's box. And it's very similar here, bro, because, you know, supposedly the origins of the Vince story was it was a friend of the person who got the NDA. And, you know, again, bro, I talked about this when it happens. All it takes is one, bro, one. And, John, I swear, in the business, bro, I am not BSing you. I've had 4 women in the business, 3 workers, 1 producer, basically tell me stories of their sexual harassment. And you know how the business is, bro. Nobody will come forward because they're going to be blackballed from the business. It's going to be their word against Vince's and all that stuff. But now, you know, something like this gives them the opportunity to come forward. So you just don't know, man, how many people are out there. You just don't know.
Seems like this is the tip of the iceberg with some of these stories, because it was like 4 women, $12 million. It's like, if that's what happened recently, I want to keep going back and see what else is out there.
Yeah, I mean, we go back to you know, the 80s with the female referee.
Yeah, Rita Chitteron. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that goes back to the 80s, bro. So like what happened in the 90s, and I mean, yeah, bro.
Crazy, but I know. I guess he's paid a lot of money, hopefully out of his own account, not WWE's account. So right,
Yeah.
you hope.
Yeah, but he even if he has, bro, and he probably did, because I don't think Vince McMahon is that stupid. But man, bro, what a horrible look, because a non-disclosure, basically, bro, like that's hush money.
Yep.
So like, why hush money? Vince, why couldn't, if it was all consensual, then why couldn't you have a relationship with one of these? You know what I'm saying, bro? It's so, I don't know, bro. It's so corny. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, bro. It's so corny. There are men in Vince's position that have, legitimate relationships and date. The problem is, though, you see what happens, John, is it becomes a lie on top of a lie on top of a lie. When I brought Bruce Pritchard back into TNA, I think it was 2011-ish, bro, Bruce told me Linda and Vince haven't been together for years. 4 years. So, my thing is, okay, like why is that a secret? So now the fact that is a secret, everything else has to be a secret. And bro, all you got to do at some point is pull one string. And then boom, but the fact that they haven't been together for years, but it was a secret and nobody could know about it, because that makes it look worse for Vince, because now all of these things look like affairs, when in fact he hasn't been with Linda. But the fact that he kept that a secret, now it makes it look really worse.
And what was it like covering all that steroid trial? Because that was a pretty...
That was pretty intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. I'm glad I went. I learned a lot about the justice system. They really didn't have strong... They really never should have had the trial, honestly. When I look back at it, they didn't have the evidence to get Vince. I mean, yes, everybody was on steroids. We know that. But they didn't have enough to tie Vince in. They almost did. They came very close, but they didn't have what they didn't have enough to me for a trial. If a few things had worked out differently, in the sense that Linda McMahon was tipped off that they were after Zahorian, and if she wasn't tipped off, they probably would have hired Zahorian as their doctor, in which case you're hiring the drug guy, and you're knowingly hiring the drug guy because he's the guy who you're getting your own, Vince was getting his own steroids from Zahorian. So you tie that in, at that point, I think they would have been liable as hell, and I think that the trial may have had a good chance of going in the other direction. But before they actually hired him, they had gotten word Zahorian's hot, back away, and they backed away. And they never hired him officially. So, I mean, he was assigned to them by the commission. So, but then the commission stopped assigning the doctor, and the WWE was going to be in charge of hiring the doctor. When the commission assigned him, Vince and everyone were getting the steroids from the guy. So they all knew who he was. And Vince couldn't say, I didn't know, because he was one of the guys getting the steroids from him, and they were sending the steroids to Vince's office for him and Hogan. So had they hired him, and they were, I mean, it's documented, they were going to hire him. He was on the list to be hired. One of the employees goes, we shouldn't hire him, this guy's a drug dealer. And the top people, Linda and Pat Patterson, said, no, he's in. And then before the first show that he was going to work for them, they got the word, and it's like, oh, he's out. And so that was the difference between, the verdict going one way or the other.
What's your opinion of Vince McMahon overall?
Brilliant. The hardest working motherfucker I know. Like him or not, it doesn't matter. He's the hardest working son of a bitch I know. He's done a lot for this business. He's done a lot of things that have hurt this business. But for somebody in his position, he's done pretty fucking good.
WWE was the first group WCW was the first group that caught wind of me and brought me in, and then the WWF brought me into there, And then, I went back twice to talk with, that WCW brought me in, talk with Bischoff and that. And then, I'd say that WWF and I were in negotiation for almost a year. They were in negotiation with both Ken Shamrock and I, but Ken went to work almost 1 year before me. He more or less said, for X amount of dollars, I'm yours. And I simply said that I wasn't going to put all my eggs into one basket. I wanted to be non-exclusive. And as far as I know, I am still the only athlete to ever be non-exclusive to them. Even in Brock Lesnar, he's not working for any other professional wrestling company. He's only working for one company, where at the time that I was working for the Ultimate Fighting Championship and any other cage fighting company that was going to book me, but then I was working for the NWA, National Wrestling Alliance, and there were 30 some odd different promoter and promotions there alone I was working for. So when I tell people, yeah, I'd be on the road for 20 plus days a month, and there would be days when I woke up simply to look at my planner and had to figure out, where am I at and what is my function today? Am I a professional wrestler? Am I a cage fighter? Part of my deal that I had with them is I knew my schedule, a minimum of 30 days ahead of time. So when I would fly into, let's say, New York City for a match at Madison Square Garden, I knew that ahead of time, so that I may fly in earlier that day. I might go do a seminar at one location, go back over to Madison Square Garden, do my match, and then later that night, go and do an appearance at a sports bar, to where my 24 hours is gone, but I pulled down 3 paychecks, not one. So, to me, I thought that was just smart on my part, but at the same token, once we finally came to an agreement, and we're in the office, here I am with Vince McMahon and Jim Ross in there, and basically, papers all been signed at that point in time. We're in there, doing, shaking the hands, slapping each other back, and more conversations taking place, and a couple of different dates were thrown out there. And then Vince finally just stops and goes, "Well," he says, "how old are you, Dan?" And I think I was 48 at the time. And he looks back over to Jim Ross. He says, "Well, Jim, who's our oldest rookie ever?" Jim didn't hesitate, just goes, "Dan." But I did not look my age, nor did I act my age. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah, I've kind of been a breaker of barriers. I think what Vince appreciated about me is the fact that I was like that old school wrestler he had dealt with at one time, where your word and your handshake should mean something. And I actually believe right now, if I made a phone call to the WWE, I do believe he would take my phone call, just because I'm not going to waste his time.
I really don't want to elaborate on it, but the bottom line is, I'm sitting in the locker room, I see Brett, I see Vince and his clan and his crew. Brett mad as fuck because they already fucked him out the belt. I'm thinking to myself, damn, some shit gonna go down. And Jim Naville sitting over in the corner, he get to doing this shit, rubbing his goddamn beard. He's either up to no goddamn good or some shit is about to break out. All I know is Vince looked at fucking Brett talking shit, get the fuck out of my locker room, get out of my building, you're done, get out, da 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 da. And all I remember Brett was saying is, shut the fuck up, leave me the fuck alone. When I get done, I get dressed, I'll leave this motherfucker when I get good and ready. Vince says, you need to leave my building now. I remember Brett get over and tell him, look, I'm getting ready to take a shower. If you're standing there, when I get out the shower, I'm gonna knock your ass out. Me, being the big smoker I be, I was already high by this time because I'm just done. I'm sitting back and I'm bugging to myself thinking, damn, shit's about to go down. Vince and his crew's over there, got his son, Pat Patterson, you know what I mean? He got the damn shooter from back in the day and shit. I can't even think of the Briscoes. We had a goddamn Briscoe. Briscoe, you know what I mean? I don't know if he a shooter or if he a hooker. Either way, that motherfucker hook you, you're hooked. All I goddamn know is Brett said that shit. He took his butt ass over there, went and watched the goddamn shower. He came out of that damn locker room with a towel wrapped around his ass. He looked over and see Vince still standing over there. Shit, he walked right back across the locker room over there, grabbed his jeans out that motherfucking locker. Didn't even get the water off his back good. Shit, got down, shit, didn't even put his drawers on, jumped down, Airborne Ranger, threw his jeans on, 501, button that motherfucker's about 3 buttons, 2 undone from the top. Didn't even put his shirt on, stepped into his tennis shoes, turned around, looked at Vince, walked over there, bam, bam, hit him with a left, hit him with a right, bam, dropped him like a sack of potatoes. I mean, he went down, he went over, got to put the boots to him, his son jumped on top of him, got to cover his ass up and shit, you know what I'm saying? Next thing you know, shit, that was that. The rest of this shit, I'm sure y'all can read in Brett's book.